Good afternoon and welcome to the April 3rd, 2019 Parking Task Force. So we're in session. We're missing a couple people who were not expecting to be here, so no problem, but we still have a quorum. Are there any announcements by the board or by anybody else in the room? Hearing none, we'll go on to the minutes, which Wayne has given to us in the past, and I've given you another copy on your place there.
I did reach out to the seashore, and they had no comments, so I just input it the way I sent it to them.
Once again, I thought you did a great job of capturing all those items,
Yeah, gosh.
because there were a lot.
And the print can't get any smaller to keep it to 2 pages, I'll tell you that.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the minutes?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed or abstained?
I'll abstain, I wasn't here.
Okay, so it's, what is that, 5:01?
Right.
Yep, all right, thank you. And then we go on to kind of the main meeting, the main points of the meeting. And I think most of them are going to relate to the surveys. We've got the survey out to the taxpayers with the tax bill, and Wayne, you want to just,
What's that? Yeah, I'll get into it, yep.
you want to talk about the surveys?
Yeah, the taxpayers, the bills went out Monday, I guess people started, or Tuesday, or whatever, I got mine today, so, and I actually went on and filled out my survey, and it worked fine. It is on the front, it's on the website, on the front page, at the top of other links or something. It's not under the link one, but it's right there. It just says, do you want to fill out the survey? So it's very easy to find and easy to fill out. So it's working, and I guess we'll check to see what kind of responses we get.
Okay.
Good.
So that's open to non-residents as well. They will be factored, because it says that in the beginning of, are you a
Resident
resident
or
or
non-resident?
non-resident?
Yeah,
Right, okay.
yeah, it covers that, plus it covers people that might rent their house to someone that's a year-round
Right.
renter.
I had to remember what it looked like.
Yeah, so
Thank
those
you.
are the three distinctions, and I don't think we made any changes to it since the last time it was approved. The only thing I just mentioned to Denny, but I think we're going to keep it the way it is. Right now, what I went into is I put under the category was, do you have problems at your favorite or second favorite beach getting parking? If you put negative on both, it still has you answer the remaining questions, which, you know, I don't know if we can set it up so that it doesn't do it, or we still want it to do it so everybody knows what we're thinking of the other options are, you know, bike, walking, all that kind of stuff.
It's possible to do that.
All right, well, it's something we can discuss. It would just take out, people filling it out wouldn't have to read through 7 questions that they're not going to answer, or they're going to answer, disagree, I guess, because they said they had no problems, so it's up to the group.
Okay. Anything new on the beach permit office?
Yeah, that has been finalized and ready for print. The only, when Bruce put it in online, we noticed a few typos, so that we corrected those, but other than that, it's pretty much the same. And I added page numbers at the bottom, so people know it, to turn it over, because it's going to be we're keeping it to 2 pages, so that was the only change there. So we'll just get some printed up, you know, as we get closer to the season.
Is it the intention to still do that on paper and then convert to online?
Right, yeah, that's the plan right now. We'll have clipboards. I'm going to make up something where we can hang some clipboards from it with the pens attached, so people can do it while they stand in line, hopefully, and keep themselves amused. And then there'll be a box that they can leave them in. I suppose they can walk away with them. We don't have any information on it about mailing it to us, so I don't know if you want to consider that. It's pretty tight for space right now. I've gotten the print is about as small as I want to go, but this actually says if you have any room for if you have any comments, put it here. It's not much more than 2 lines for comments, but they can always write it on the back or something like that. So that's the only change I think we need to make there.
Okay. And then the business survey. Yes, Suzanne.
A thought, if people conceive of the need to mail it in, instead of putting it on the survey
Oh, all right, that's a good idea. Yeah,
Cheaper than reprinting.
yeah, we haven't printed anything yet, so, I don't know, how many should we print? How many do you think? Is like 3,000 or 4,000 that generally buy tickets there?
Mostly 5,500 visitor stickers, which is probably maybe 3,500 individual sales, like to families and groups.
Right.
On a rental period. So I wouldn't do more than 1,000 at a time.
Okay,
Because if you get a 30% response, that might last you all summer.
right. Okay, well, we'll, and I think, I'm planning to print it on a, if we can't do the clipboards, we'll do it on a harder something they can write on in line, as opposed to, we'll see, we'll figure that out.
Clipboards are cheap.
Yeah, they are, yeah.
Please use the mics so
Yeah, you gotta use
folks
the
at home can hear.
Yep.
Thank you. All
The
right,
other, the other thing is just about signage. I want to, keep it large print, small. What should it say? Do you want to, should we go into depth about what we're doing, or should you just say, do you want to take a survey about beach parking?
oh,
So,
When does this have to be up?
May, when's the big sticker office opens?
Okay.
June, mid-June?
June, yeah, mid-June.
I think you could have maybe something put on a board.
That's what I'm doing, but I just don't know.
But a statement, but it doesn't have to be on the survey. I
No.
mean, it could be, why take the survey and have somebody that people could read and then, okay, I'm going to take the survey and,
I'm
you know
thinking
what
we
I'm
might
saying?
have
Instead
to,
of attaching it to every survey,
right.
you can have a explanation put on like the bulletin board or something, and highlighted, maybe put like it on colored construction paper to stand out, like a border around it, and, put survey explanation or why take a survey or something, and,
That's something we'll have to work on the wording of.
yeah, I mean, it would just save paper.
Yeah,
and-
no, I'm thinking on paper. I'm just thinking on this board I'm making, what do we say to grab their attention in big print? I mean, it can't be a lot. And also, the survey itself will only be 2 pages, so hopefully they can figure that out.
There might be a creative graphic artist who could think of something that would pop out and be brief. I mean, I'll have to think about people who I know that can
Yeah.
think of that.
That's- Yep.
Are these surveys going to be, oftentimes there's a line there, so it'd be
Right.
great if they see the form and the sign
Right,
before
right.
they go in.
Well, that's
So
why
I
it's
think
going to be
that- yeah,
right
it's
It's gonna
inside
be
the,
structured
Filling
so
them out while
when they can leave it before they leave
Right.
with their sticker?
yeah,
Yeah.
it'll be, in good weather, probably on the walkway, if that's allowed by the fire
Something to
laws.
do.
And if not, it'll
Yeah,
be,
it
It
is.
might cause discussion among people too, so.
yeah, it'll be right inside the door.
Be a
And we're all
friendly
going to volunteer for
exercise.
one day to go down there and, get everybody to sign up, right?
Yeah. All right.
The other thing I was thinking, you have a second one that has the information on it, plus a map of where our beaches are. I know we all think everybody knows which beach is which, but I can guarantee you a lot of visitors have no idea where Whitecrest Beach is. And
well, Suzanne's got a good map on that.
I know I do it. I have a map, and we're going to have that up there too, so they'll be able to refer to it if they need to know. And I think we'll start seeing, if we start seeing a lot of questions, of your staff, we can address whatever those concerns are early on and modify it so they don't have to deal with all the questions.
Okay. Hearing
So,
nothing-
yeah, okay, that's it.
That's enough on that.
Mhm.
Business survey, where, you want to update on that?
Yeah, I'll let Sheila take care of that since she's,
No, I really, quite frankly, I was involved in sort of spearheading it with Wayne, and then Bruce came along, who does know how to enter things in a survey, and we talked about sort of the rationale. So I really have to just say thank you to both of them, because they really did do most of the work on all of these things, and a lot of emails back and forth, and whether we all agree with everything there, it's all been a lot of good work, and I appreciate that, so thank you. And it's saved me from having to do laborious figuring out the,
Training yourself?
how to do this, right? Training myself, so maybe
so now I guess the question is when to distribute and how. We plan to do as many as we can by email, which is about all but 80 or 70 of the town's business license holders have email addresses with the town, so that's fairly simple. And Bruce has already finished putting it on as a draft on the system, right? And it's up and you can test it.
There-
Sent you the link.
There are a couple words that got changed between earlier drafts and the final ones, and they're significant.
Okay, well, maybe, did
Yeah.
you note them?
So I was going to ask, did everybody see these surveys, and, you know, what does everybody think about them before we put them up there? That's the question I'd like to know, if everybody's
I
looked at
think
them.
the only changes I remember us making in this last subcommittee meeting was that in question number 2, I suggested we put in along Route 6, north of Main Street Office, towards Truro. Because everyone, sometimes, some people refer to Route 6 as east and west, and others are north and south, so I just figured it'd be easier.
No, that worked for me, I noticed that, so.
Okay, that was one change, and the other one was, I think, in item number 6, we dropped buses.
Okay, yep.
And that, other than that, it was all just typos, and they weren't that
Well,
many,
in
I think.
3,
Yeah,
I noticed that we changed the word to "our license requires." The license doesn't require anything. It's the zoning bylaws and the
Okay.
special permit. So, and that's significant because I know how to answer the license, doesn't require.
Yeah, that original question did say, by zoning law, are you required? That was my original question. Are you required to provide spaces? And it was, I don't know,
Yep.
you could use those 3 things. But
Yep.
I think if you just put it back to that original,
I'd like to get the number in there so that they're aware of their number. It's in their special permit, or
yeah, I
whatever
mean,
permit
some
they
do
have.
have, some must and some
And
don't.
a lot of them
but
will be grandfathered out,
A lot don't.
but I
would assume a lot don't.
yeah, and a
If
lot
someone
don't.
could be the master of the final copy, then I can make changes on SurveyMonkey,
Okay,
just, but somebody needs to say, all right, I have the final version.
right.
Yeah.
Now, so what do you want that to read, Denny? Our license to
our zoning permit
Okay, instead of licensing, okay.
requires, so I'd take out license to operate. So our zoning permit requires that we provide, and then I'd put a blank and say number of parking spaces. And,
Is it still for the employees and not for the,
no, it's for everything.
okay, so they don't break it down, you need 5 for employees and,
They don't.
okay, all right,
But-
4, okay.
Sorry?
I just have a question.
Yes.
Point of clarification. This is going to be emailed, the link to the SurveyMonkey is going to be emailed, or the document's going to be emailed?
Both. The link will be sent in, it's at the top here. So I guess, the email goes out, it'll have the link only, I think.
Well, sometimes it shows the page, but you can go right to the link if you want to go right into the.
Right, so from survey, when the email comes to you, you can just click on it, and you'll go right to
Right.
the survey. And those that we don't have email addresses that we have to snail mail, they have the option of still filling it out, but they have to type in the URL. Or they can mail it in.
Thank you.
Thank you. Who wants to be the final arbiter here? Sheila, you
Well,
want
well, I don't know about that, but I just wanted to ask one other question about the use of our license.
If you don't, can I butt in for a second?
Sure, go
I
right
think
ahead.
I think most people will know. They don't care whether it's a license or the zone is not, they'll know whether they have to have, I would think, if I ran a business, I would know if I have a parking requirement that I need to set forth. I mean, I'd just be
Yeah,
surprised if someone
but I don't-
would run a business and not have a clue of whether or not they're required to provide certain number of
But
parking spaces.
it's not under the license that they're
Yeah,
required.
I agree.
Okay,
but-
so-
But I think hopefully they'll get the point, whether, you modify it somewhat, they should get the
Yeah.
point, I would think.
I printed out the 2018 business license application. I don't know if the 19 is any different, or whether it's going to change at all, but The only thing it mentions is about parking is related to it's more seating than anything. So it's restaurants only are the only ones that it mentions that you need to, do you have outside seating? What's the seating capacity, and is the area enclosed, are the only questions asked.
So it's not about parking, and,
At all.
and I talked to the zoning enforcement officer, building inspector, Justin Post, and you'll see on that application for a license, Wayne, you'll see that the building inspector has to sign off on it.
Right.
And I asked him if he considered parking spaces. He says he's never considered it, and nobody's ever asked him about it. And the parking space is something that's determined at the front end. You can't go for a business license until you have your zoning permit. So that's a question of the past.
So in the beginning, I'm gonna open up my business, I go to the zoning board first. And the zoning board says to me, okay, so what type of business, and do you have parking for your, do you have perceived, where your customer's gonna go?
There are requirements in the zoning bylaw.
So they will do like a formula of how many people they think I'm gonna be having at one time, and they'll say you need 5 parking spots or 3
Yep.
parking spots. So, under that then, I think the wording should say, per, your zoning bylaw, per zoning board, bylaw,
Zoning
are
permit.
you required to have so many spaces? Because I'm sure, does every space in, like on Main Street, every business along there, the pottery shop and the coffee shop, and
No,
are they
don't.
all, no, those are sort of
And
like
they're all-
public, open,
They're all grandfathered, and we all understand
right,
that that's there, but there are some
There are
places that
some.
are expanding their business and doing that sort of stuff.
right.
And they say, we're gonna bring in, not picking on restaurants particularly, but we're gonna bring in 20 more tabletops, and,
Right.
and nobody asked the question about parking. So,
Okay, so
no,
I'd say per zoning bylaw, are you required to have,
Or can I
Well,
make
permit,
one-
I think.
Why not just say, are you required to provide parking spaces, period? There's no,
Right.
you're putting a limitation on it. If you just say, are you required, it doesn't matter whether it's the Constitution or the bylaws,
right,
Doesn't, our zoning permit requires that we provide parking spaces for employees? Don't know, no, or yes. Isn't it already on?
But then you're referring to a specific thing, whereas you say, are you required? It could be by a myriad of,
I think there's only one, I'm trying to think, but I think there's only one source of that. Dan, isn't there only one source of that, as far as you're, nothing else requires?
No.
I suspect you're right, Dan.
I think I'd keep the zoning permit in there.
so are you required to provide parking under the zoning bylaw?
Under the zoning permits,
Under your zoning permit?
because some are by the bylaw and some are by the special permits.
So the question
zoning
would be,
permits.
are you required to provide adequate parking?
Take the word adequate.
Okay, just.
Not adequate, just
Are you
parking.
just required to provide parking under your zoning bylaw?
Is that a yes/no question, or is that a
It would be
X number of
yes,
spaces?
no, or I don't know.
So-
I mean, those 3 questions I think would be adequate.
Well,
We didn't ask how many, because that might, that kind of goes against the adequate, doesn't it?
Well, it leaves it, well, yeah,
no,
Mike,
it's a number. I wouldn't have any trouble asking for a number.
Okay,
So,
but then since we don't know who's sending the survey, other than we know what type of business they're in, it's
or you can
it's
say, is the
irrelevant.
number that you are to provide adequate for the employees?
you have another question.
Okay.
If we
Dan,
go back to number 3, if we put yes and then in parentheses, how many? I mean, if that's, don't know, no, and yes. I
Can
don't
that
think
be
there are
added
any other
easily?
answers you can come up with. And if you want to get more into it with yes, then just put yes, how many?
okay.
Yeah, that makes sense.
We'll see if Bruce can do that. That's,
Well, it's another item we'd ask.
yeah. So another question, or? Yeah,
If so, how many?
yeah.
We have the question 4 is where we get into adequacy. Our required number of parking spaces is adequate for during the peak summer season. And so that's that question, you know. And because of putting all the parking in one area, I don't know that you need to repeat in C7. I think, no, that's not it. Where is it? I had my eyes dilated today, so I can't see anything.
Had that problem yesterday.
Does your license require that you provide parking spaces for customers? The number of customers anticipated and a few things are part of the formula to determine number of spaces, but they're not separated out between employees and customers. So it's one lump number that, you know, that you have to do.
So take out question 8 as your license.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is it 8? Yep. Yep.
Hey, boy, no,
shorter.
the big comment section.
I think,
I just leave it in there.
I think I would leave some of those, because what you really do want to know, even if they are required or not to provide parking, is there ample parking for your customers during peak summer season? I mean, are you finding that you're having more problems?
Yeah.
Am I right?
Well, number 9, just take out the word required, because there is no required.
Right.
Just say, are parking spaces for customers adequate?
Use the mic, Bruce, please.
You could also, I think originally it was employees and customers, and there was no distinction
Right.
between employees or customers. Then we could reduce the number of items. So that would be,
9 is definite, yeah.
yeah, so right now we have a whole section for parking for employees at your business and another one for parking for customers. So we wouldn't need that. We can
Right.
combine it.
Because the zoning doesn't distinguish, they just say, talk about parking.
It distinguishes when you calculate the number, but when you have a number, the number is inclusive of both.
Of both, okay. So we don't have to distinguish,
No.
Yeah,
Okay.
that can shorten the survey.
right.
Okay?
So we're going to give this one more go? Is there any other things that should be taken out, or?
I didn't have any other issues with this, but I'd suggest that if it's okay with the board, that we give the authority to the subcommittee to make this thing final. I think we've got all of our points on the table,
Yep.
and,
Well, we'll distribute it one more time.
okay,
Yes.
yeah.
Can we do that via email, or we have to do it
Yeah,
I
we
guess
can-
next meeting? We
I-
distribute it, but then we have to approve it next meeting.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
That's why I'm trying to get you to be the final approver.
Okay, well, if everybody, maybe, I don't know if you can approve over email,
No,
unless it goes through you.
no, you
You run
can't.
into the.
Okay.
Open meeting law, so,
All right.
All right. So for us to discuss it, we have to have another subcommittee meeting.
right.
Yes.
So much fun.
Well, let's see if we can, yeah, I think sooner the better. I mean, I'm hoping that, I'm flexible the next
We'll
couple of
figure it
days.
out.
and-
We have to talk to
Okay,
Ginny, too.
let's do it
'cause
afterwards.
If she
Okay.
can make it.
All right.
Okay.
Okay, so that gets us to anything on the Marina update? on the
Well, to
survey?
date, we have a return of 220 surveys.
Wow, that's good.
Which is almost one-half of the number
Wow.
of leases that went out.
Statistically very
And
good.
there is still a number of leases out that have not been returned.
Mm.
So I anticipate we'll get even more.
Okay. Have you started the input process?
I have not. Will has been a traveler, frequent miles, and I think we'll wait a little while longer. We'll have most of them in and then tackle it.
But the intention, I think, is to use SurveyMonkey to record the data?
Right. Correct. It'll just be only accessible to, to the members of the committee.
I can set up a manual entry collector, it's called, for the Marina survey, because otherwise you'll only be able to enter one.
At a time?
Right, yeah, because of the URL,
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what we'll do for that, and we'll have to do the same for the the beach sticker manual entries. How has the, just out of curiosity, how has the online volume been as far as people using it to buy a permit?
It's been fairly light. I did the report today. We've been operating since March 11th. Only alert people who see stickers online are available have been using it. I expect a larger number now that the tax bills are going out. And I think to date, this morning's total for the last 3 weeks was a little under $2,000. So, and I guess I have to add in the IT time when people call me and say, I can't make this work. What am I doing wrong? So aside from that, we're doing fine.
Okay.
If anyone calls you about ours, call me. Don't spend any, they shouldn't be, they're working fine. The one that's up so far is working fine. I did it this morning, so.
Okay, thank you, Wayne.
But, and also, just I should mention, at the last subcommittee meeting, Lieutenant Hurley came, and he offered his posting it on the website of the police station if we wanted to. But I don't think, where it's on the town's website, I don't think we need it in 2 places, but
Which survey?
the one that just went out, in the
Taxpayers?
taxpayer survey, yeah.
Oh, keep it.
Just keep it on the town, okay, yeah.
All right, well, happy compilations.
It'll be interesting.
Yep.
And then we can think about things. No, go ahead.
Okay. Then we had our presentation last time with the National Seashore Women and with Dan Hort being here. And one of the items that came up was trying to create an app that would work to tell about parking availability. And Wayne has done a little research. Again, Wayne, to you.
Yep, you'll see as a handout, looks like this. I've looked into a variety of existing online systems that we could maybe incorporate rather than having to design one ourselves. So if we can find one that works, this one on the back page of that is the Jones Beach in New York. That's their page, and it's a real-time assistant, and they have, I think, a total of 7 or 8 different parking fields at Jones Beach, and it gives live-time analysis of how many spaces they have left. I sent a note to the state of New York. I think all their recreational facilities of any size has this option, asking them what software they use and all. I have not heard back, and that might be because no one's there yet because the season isn't around. In addition, on the front page, another one that might work is a company called T Parking Systems Solutions, the first one there. And that is the sign you see is the type of sign I'm not sure whether it can be remotely put on the highway or whether it has to be at one of the first beach or what the case might be, but that's a system where you put electronics in the tar. And my guess, and again, they owe me a call back. I haven't got any information from them other than what's on the website. Car drives in, records going in, car goes out, records going out, and this thing tabulates how many spaces are left. I think the only thing the gate guards would be required to do, or the attendants would be in the morning, when they turn it on, they probably have to input manually how many spaces were already taken by people that got there before the gate opened. It's probably not, I don't know how expensive it is. It might be just, you do it just for Whitecrest this year, or you don't, or you try it out in some fashion. Maybe they have a system that you don't need the sign, that it can just be done through an application. But the other one that is most likely to possibly work is the one that P-Town is now using called Mobile Now. And I'm working on getting information from Dominic down there, how well that's going. According to Dan, I think at the last meeting, or the meeting before, they said they were in the process of maybe changing the system. I think they're going to, instead of fobs, they're going to plate readers. I don't know if that'll have any impact on this Mobile Now. The rest of these that are listed here are a variety of existing parking programs, but they're mainly for cities. And I think the only way I can figure they make money is you sign up. Your garage, like one of my clients owns a garage downtown. He signed up for these, and he pays X fee for someone to go on and reserve a space. And then there's a transaction fee too. So they make their money way that way, because I didn't see any advertising, so. But those probably would not work because I think that we're going to find out they're much more expensive than other options, and they may not want to do it for something that's only 2 months a year as opposed to, or 3 months a year as opposed to 12 months a year. So that's the other option I thought we might want to do, and maybe we can just look into this to begin with. My cheapest option. There's another page here. It says complete science concentration. This is the Mass Community College's computer science curriculum. And I was just wondering if they might every year have to do some kind of a student project, and maybe one of the projects they could pick up is some kind of parking system for all the beaches on the Cape. It's worth exploring. The only risk you run there is if it requires a lot of service, someone would have to be trained how to deal with it after it's been programmed. But I don't know if anyone knows anybody at Cape Cod Community College, has any connections there that we can find out whether that's feasible or not, but.
I actually do, and there's not only just Cape Cod Community College, but Bridgewater State has a site here, and, various other things. I think it's an interesting idea. I've always been in favor of throwing out something to doing challenges. I thought about this, about septic tanks, go to universities and see, like, go to MIT and put up a contest. I'm sure someone's going to come up. So I think it's a great idea. It's not going to help us this summer, but it's kind of a fun thing to explore, and it's always good to have a hands-on project for
The other one I
for
couldn't-
young people.
The other one might be.
Could even go to the
sorry.
tech high schools, excuse me.
That's what I was going to say, the Voc Tech
Yeah,
is another
right.
possibility, but I just thought these people might be more advanced in programming.
Right. Well, it's an interest, there's, I'm going to.
Anybody want to
I'm gonna
follow
think
up? I
about
can,
that.
but anyone else want to volunteer?
And I just wanted to say one other thing about this thing in P-Town. Some of it is that it's a system where, I have to rush to go and put more money in my meter, so I can't do that. I'm at dinner, so I'm going to be able to re-up. And part of our issue is to get people to move, like you have your 3 hours, let's move for another person. So it might work in the city, but, and I think it's great, believe me, there's going to be times I'm going to say, I wish I had that, but,
The P-Town probably won't work because they have every lot is either metered or a gate attendant. And unless you have the meters, it is geared towards people wanting to re-up while they're not there. But
Right.
like in Boston, you can't re-up. It's 2 hours and you got to move. You got
Yeah.
to move a minimum of 2 blocks.
Right.
So, and the other, I don't think we're going to get to meters. I mean, it's just not going to make any sense for the volume, the amount of time we have, so, that we have to charge, so. So I think it's either someone designs something or we find someone that's working like this Jones and see if we can feed off of it.
I was going to ask Suzanne, so what do you think of, the first one was sort of just like sort of beach counting, counting cars in and out, and what's the availability, sort of like the way the National Seashore does. I think we talked about this. Do you think this is a good thing?
I'm not sure how the cars are counted. I don't know if they're plate readers or if it's just something a vehicle driving over a sensor. I would have to know the details before I think if it would work. I do know I asked about plate readers for residents to be able to just breeze into the beach.
Right.
And apparently exterior cameras are pretty susceptible, and I think the sand scouring would impact their ability to work effectively at the 4 ocean beaches.
Right.
So if they had an alternative way of counting, that'd be good.
Well, there's also the issue of whether a beach is really available for parking, because we require permits. We've got our own permit system, whereas the National Seashore doesn't.
Yeah, they can pay at the gate.
Yeah, so having a sign on the highway that
It's false.
shows Nauset Beach and LeCount Hollow, they're two different populations.
Right.
I agree, and I would rather look into the idea of a Wellfleet parking app, that you just download the app. If you're here for, 2 days or 2 months or whatever, if you're an owner here or whatever, you have the app and you feel like going to Newcomb Hollow, you just call up your app and see what the situation is. And I think it would be worth probably $10,000 approximately for the Android and another 10 for the iOS. So you have to build an app for each application.
And the information could be open or closed instead of 56% open or,
Exactly,
So-
exactly.
And who
Just
does
have-
the
just
pro?
have-
Oh, good,
sorry.
good, no, good.
Just have to make sure that you open the app, like, before you get to Bocce, or you probably won't be able to open it anywhere on Ocean View Drive or LeCount, pretty much, right?
Well, that's part B. There are cell phone challenges, but I do know that right now the town's in communication with Open Cape to improve the service out there. And also, we started conversation with Verizon, but that was October, and now it's April, and we still haven't heard from Verizon. But it's an ongoing conversation, so absolutely, you can't build an app until you have the ability for people to use it.
The funding we just got from the state covers the satellite phones and the call boxes, is that only?
We will not be getting satellite phones because we don't need to.
Okay.
We're going to use landline emergency phones. As a matter of fact, the construction on the conduits from the closest poles starts on Monday.
Okay.
And then once the conduits are finished, the outfit in New Hampshire that we ordered the telephones and protective boxes from will come down and install them for us. The good thing is, they're also the company we talked to about portable radio reception, so we'll get a twofer.
All right.
will there be phones on the beach or just at the top?
They'll be on the, depending on the beach, either the comfort station or I think at Cahoon Hollow, there's actually a pole there. They can just run the line up the pole and install the phone. Right next to the phone where you order your Uber.
Okay.
No Uber phone there, just for the record.
Going in
no
reverse
Uber
here.
All right, so,
I'll pursue the Cape Cod Community College just for the grins to see if there's something there, and maybe Voc Tech.
I'll
We'll work together, all
Yeah,
right.
sure.
All right, we'll get there.
I
And
mean,
then,
it's-
I don't know if I doubt we can do anything for this summer, but we can
No,
try.
I doubt it, but
Who knows, maybe someone's starting their
they'd have to
project
think
late.
about it, yeah.
yeah, they'll be out pretty soon at the college level. Okay, correspondence, we've been getting more correspondence. I thought I'd have some today, but I don't. I've forwarded those on to you. It seems that there's a drift about on whether people want to take shuttles between locations, or whether they want to go to their favorite beach and wait in line. I'm going to try to do something to put a spreadsheet together to capture those. And I may mangle some of the language, but that's all right. I just want to catch the main things and just kind of build a tally. But we'll have all that information by way of surveys, but why not?
I found them interesting. Nothing was really horrible. Some people were sort of like, I can see this, but think about that. Some people were like, no, it's not a good idea. The one thing that I did agree with, there was one gentleman, I believe, who has worked at the National Seashore, or knows something about transportation, but he was just talking about the emissions, and that's what I have said. Whether you keep that, whether people sit there or not, we should have a no idling bylaw put into place so that, because I do think that if you're there for a prolonged time, and, I mean, there are houses along these, not only just the rest of us, but, for those people who live right there, that starts to build up, I'm sure it's very unpleasant.
I don't think we have to, because there's a state 5-minute mandate.
Is there?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, but who
Well,
knows
maybe
that?
it's a
No one's gonna
reminder, or just put a
enforce it.
sign, don't idle.
That's a good,
Yeah, you can put a sign up, but I mean,
No
95
idling.
degrees out, you're not gonna.
Have we ever heard from the neighbors of the people going into the different beaches about any complaints about the line? Newcomb's, LeCount's?
Very little, but.
Yeah, one of
You have
the
heard
emails
some?
we just got said that it's never been a problem. People are always courteous to the people that own houses, don't block their driveways, that type of thing,
Yeah.
so. And then they said, in an emergency, we pull over and, the ambulance goes by or whatever. So it was sort of addressed,
Yeah,
but not,
But no
no
big
one wrote
complaints
and
that
said, I
no
think
one's
this is a
got-
great idea
yeah.
because it's solving a problem,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah,
But I do think idling is something that should be
yeah.
somehow addressed.
Yeah, I think that's a good to have a sign. I mean, I've sit in that line for years. Fortunately, it's downhill. So it's almost, there's just one little dip. There's just one little dip. And other than that one dip, I can go downhill without my engine on for 45 minutes. You know.
Oh, there is one there, okay.
But I do think the sign's a very good idea.
Yeah, just to remind people.
Suzanne?
It would be pretty straightforward to add that no idling while you're waiting in line at the beaches to the beach regulations. It's as simple as a hearing before the Board of Selectmen. So if you recommended that, I'm sure the hearing could be set up. There is also no idling for trucks, unless you're a refrigerator truck. I mean, there's all sorts of reasons not to idle endlessly, except if you're waiting in line on a really hot day and you want to run your AC.
So that's
They might
gonna
get
be
pushback
that's
from
gonna
that.
be the pushback, but hopefully everybody can keep their windows open and do it like that we used to do in the old days.
Like in the olden days, Sheila?
Yes, I am that old, when I roll down my window.
My beach truck still has mechanical windows.
Maybe we can sell little portable battery fans with our logo
go.
on them for,
Maybe the committee can come and police the line and encourage people to turn off their engines.
Yes. We can be goodwill ambassadors.
Okay.
I'll do that.
Anything else on this issue? We've got more study to come. Oh, we were on correspondence, I'm sorry, yep. Outreach, we haven't really done any more outreach. I'm feeling like I'd like to have a little more input from the surveys before we start chomping out and talking about, well, I mean, what we're doing is getting data, but it'd be more interesting when we get the data, as far as I'm concerned, so.
What about reaching out to the press about the fact there is a survey? Or you still want to wait to have some results before we do that?
I don't know how to say it politely, but, you know, the press should be aware.
Yep.
They should be on the website. I have not talked to them directly, but,
Okay.
Well, you know, it wouldn't be bad to do a little PSA to like Ed Miller or somebody to, you know, and just say, Wellfleet has, you know, it's like a little public information. He can just put it in a little box somewhere next to the Wellfleet page. Where, you know, I think it's not a bad thing to say that we're doing some work and this is there available for people. Maybe
I'm
we should-
surprised how many people know.
Yeah, they
that
do.
we're doing
And how
it.
many people watch?
Yep,
Yeah.
yep.
I get that all the time, but I'm sure it's fascinating.
Okay. Suggestions of candidates for future, no, wait a minute. Yeah, okay, we'll talk about that. Candidates for future briefings. Anybody come to mind that you want to have here? Because I don't have anybody in mind.
Well, I was, on that point, maybe we should wait until we get further information, then we can see who we would like to hear from based upon us having more data. So I was thinking along those same lines in terms of future briefings, you know, it's probably not I'll just say it, it's probably not necessary for us to meet maybe skip a meeting or two. I mean, I don't know
Once these
what's
are out.
the point of just, I mean, we're gonna send all this stuff out, it's all going out, so. it should-
Probably going to get more input as people start arriving here.
So
with the
should,
warmer weather,
I mean,
get closer to
just
summer.
query, should our next meeting not be till sometime in May?
Well,
Bruce, how, can
Just-
we do interim, you know, data to date says such and such, or how does that work? You have to wait to the end, or,
That's possible.
okay. Because once we get, say, 100 back or something, we could just do a test and see what kind of responses we're getting?
The analysis is ongoing,
Yeah,
so
okay.
so if I can just make a point of reminding, we are going to have to come back and vote on this final draft. So there has to be a meeting, even if it doesn't have to take a month. If we can get it done by next week and send it out to everybody, we could have a meeting. And then really just sort of, I mean, I think it's not a bad idea to let it get out there see what happens, give it some time, and then we can come back and start looking at some real feedback and say, this is we're getting, even if it's not final.
What do we want to establish as a date for the business survey to go out, both email and snail mail? May 1st? May 15th?
I think as soon as it's all approved, and yeah, I think it would be good to get it out by the 1st, but we have to meet to vote the final draft.
Yeah, well, the concern earlier was we didn't want to do it
Am I
too
right?
soon because a lot of the merchants wouldn't be here. So,
I
Danny, your thoughts
defer to the
on
chair.
timing?
Pardon, timing?
Timing for getting it out, the business survey.
Oh, early May is fine.
Okay.
Yeah. But I guess part of my suggestion to give it to the subcommittee was to have the subcommittee be the final approval. We know basically what you're doing,
Okay.
and when you're ready,
Okay.
go for it.
All right.
I mean,
So then
if
let's,
anybody's got an objection to that, here's your chance.
you're going to trust us?
No, because I think the change to question 3 is pretty simple to do. It's just a matter of
Yeah.
just getting the wording right.
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 But are we going to delete
I'll send it to you.
the section, are we going to merge the sections into one?
Yes,
The employees
and we're
and
going to do
customer
this.
section.
Okay, all
The
right.
other thing that is not on there, but it should be, is a deadline. We want to return your survey or complete it by this date. We should
Okay.
have that on there.
That's a good idea. Now that we have room for that, what should we pick as a date? Yeah, oh, yeah, we have.
Yeah, we're
plenty of
going to shrink it.
room. May 28th? Okay.
Suzanne?
Janet and I were just chatting about what your plans are for announcing this or presenting it to the folks at town meeting,
Have
Oh.
a survey available,
Oh, yeah.
fill out while you're
or the,
paying attention.
or on your phone while you're not paying attention.
It's-
Well, we've got, the way SurveyMonkey works, you can only fill it out once from your internet address. But if you go to a different computer, you can fill it out again. Am I right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
There you go.
I think
I don't
you
know
really
that-
want it once, at least. I mean,
yeah.
better than zero.
Yeah, the risk we run is that, people will fill it out 2 and 3 times if they want to influence our actions, but, yeah, I didn't want to say
I
that. but-
really,
I don't think, we shouldn't think that highly of ourselves.
I
if
know,
somebody's
that's
gonna wanna
exactly
fill out
right.
3 or
I really
4.
don't think people are going to be spending that much. We don't have a lot of people that they have up there sitting on a county seat but here that are
If-
obsessive like that.
We get to the point of constructing new parking spaces, I think the whole tenor of this is going to change, so.
Well, we don't know what we're going to do.
I know, I'm just saying if we get to that.
We're just trying to figure out how big is this is there a problem? How big is this problem? And then we can kind of start really, all right, now this is kind of where it all is. But I think it's a good idea to, for my own opinion, to present it at town meeting. I think to have just to say, you can go on the website, it's there, information about it's on the front page of the website. And, it's just there to help us. We don't want to do anything that, we want this to be a collaborative effort, and we want to know what you're thinking. So please take the survey. Right?
Janet,
Don't you think that's a good
Big table
idea?
of papers there every
Yeah.
year.
Yeah.
Different, so what?
Right, so we can put exactly.
All right,
Okay.
very, very good
Be a
idea.
synopsis
We will
of
pick
what
it
I have a
Let's hear from
question.
the chair, though.
So when you come into town meeting and you've got the two,
You can have those tables with him.
well, no, not the tables, the projection screens. What's up on them? Just our logo and town meeting? Maybe on 1 or 2 of them for at least the first 20 minutes. I mean, people start arriving at 6:30, 6:30. Just a reminder, fill out the survey, and they've got their phones there, and they could
Right.
go fill them out on their phones while they're
And we can
waiting.
remind them to go online and get their beach sticker, too.
Yeah, let's see.
Yeah.
Okay, we don't want
Not to,
Don't mix
but
apples and.
what do you think of that, having a
I think some,
announcement up
I
there?
think some informal approach to it. I wouldn't make it part of the town meeting, but it's your town meeting, so.
That's right. You can bring it back to the board and see what they think. But I think that us having
Well, just
some
to
sort of
have-
information sheet there definitely is a,
Okay.
have an information sheet, and I understand what you're saying on a projection.
Yeah, I
And
like that
I'll
idea.
study that and be ready
I like that.
in
Yeah,
21
my other
days.
thought, you should never invite me to a meeting, is that if you're going to do a PSA and do it as a press release, you might want to do the PSA on the same sheet as here's the link to the survey, and use that as a handout. And you've got two things done at once.
Thank you.
Brilliant.
Done.
For those people who are going to receive an email link to the business survey, there should also be at least one reminder, maybe a second one, saying the deadline's approaching if you haven't completed your survey yet.
Okay, we can do that with the linked ones. We can't, unless you want to do two mailings. I think if someone hasn't given the town their email address, I've found the few people I've asked trying to get them, they said they did that intentionally. So they just don't want to broadcast their email addresses out. So I think the majority of them, actually, I highlighted last week, of the, that's what I handed out last week, of the 45 we do not have email addresses for. I only highlighted maybe half of those that really are people that have parking at all, or you would have anything to respond to on our survey. Other people are just, art galleries working out of their house or things like that. So, so I don't think we have to worry about the people we're mailing to, other than once.
Suzanne, did you have something?
I
Oh,
actually have nothing to say.
okay. I just wanted to capture that moment. So we will, I'll put together a sheet for the tables out front, and we'll make the sheet similar to whatever gets put up on the projectors, and I'll work through Dan to get that. They're still called slides.
It's PowerPoint, yeah.
We don't have those.
Now, we're not going to provide the survey, though, just a reminder to go to the,
I don't think so.
Yeah,
Just,
exactly, yeah.
'cause that's more to input.
Yeah. Yep. All right. Then, I don't know if you noticed at the bottom of my, well, let's see, the conclusions to date and all that, at the bottom I had some in italics. Those, I'd like to try to make a practice of new ones are going to be in italics, so they catch your attention. I put those in there based on our time with the Cape Cod National Seashore, and I think they were important points to capture. Not that they're earth-shattering or anything, but if there are some other things that you want to have in there, let's try to, let me know, if you would, please.
Okay.
May I?
You may.
When I look at number 1 and number 12, which says there's only a few days in the summer when it exceeds demand, and then number 12 says beach parking is taking up other parking areas. So there seems to be a disconnect between those two. And I don't know if it's the language. It just doesn't make a lot of logical sense to me, those two statements put side by side.
Number 1 and number 12.
Maybe just combine the two into one, Denny.
Okay.
Yep.
How do you want to do that? I was having a hard time seeing what Suzanne's problem was.
Resulting in,
Yeah, resulting in, yeah. Just
It's
move,
just if I'm the only person that's annoyed, just leave it the way it is.
no, just move 12.
Not
add-
annoyed,
Add,
just
add 12 to
perplexed.
the end of one.
To the end of one or the beginning of one?
to the end, resulting in,
Okay, got it.
Yeah, I think.
And maybe, I don't know, should we put bullet points at each one of these so they can quickly scan them at the beginning of each one?
That's why I've got numbers.
No, but I mean a word, put the word, what this one relates to, so they can scan it.
Oh,
I'll work with that on you later, it's not that.
okay, all right.
I mean, in a sense, it seems to me, this is sort of like the progression of how we've progressed in this process that we've all been in here. And in the beginning, some people say, well, there's really just several days, when it's really, really bad. And then as it comes out, well, there's more than several days, it's really sunny days, or, good days, or weekend days. So, but there are these particular days where it's just beyond, like almost into a crisis mode, in a sense, which is like 4th of July or thereabouts. So I think that's what the first statement's really saying, and the other one is saying, but on the whole, if we have a really good summer here and days and weeks of sunshine and warm weather, we're going to have an issue because we have day trippers coming down and we have, all the other stuff on top of regular seasonal people.
It was kind of interesting note, and I think one of the emails that came in recently was their view of how many buses there were on 4th of July weekend was
It was
40,
huge.
40 or 50, where we had
was
18,
100.
so
40 or 50, then it was 200,
Yeah.
all the way up to 200 buses.
there's thousands
Like
of
a
people.
caravan.
Well, fortunately, I think Mark is taking note of how many this year every day, so we'll
Yeah.
have more accurate numbers. I think he's having filling out those forms that provide where they're coming from and stuff, so. But it is, that's our problem. That's why we're doing these surveys, because we have all these inaccurate or variable stories on what's happening where.
That was an interesting discussion with the National Seashore about, they're somewhat different because it's a public park, but their notification of rules to buses coming in and that sort of thing. And if you haven't watched that, I have to think back exactly
did.
how she said, but it was interesting, and I still think we have to wrap ourselves around that and
Well,
contact with these, but I think we're losing, there's an avenue of revenue, and I think and it's not just to get the revenue, it really does go towards the maintenance of, the beach areas and stuff. You have that many people putting wear and tear on them.
I think that Chief Facette has the best, or Lieutenant Hurley, on the legal ramifications of what we can and cannot do on public roads with buses or other vehicles, and I think that would be something to factor in when that discussion comes.
Okay, good. Then we'll go to that.
I just want to say, I work for the Wellfleet Chamber of Commerce, and you see, I don't know, fun buses or wherever they are from various parts over the bridge in America, just come down into the South Wellfleet General Store area. Is it a good idea to ask whoever is working at the chamber that day, if they see a bus or two or something, to write down the name or something?
I don't know how to answer
Well, if
that.
they're headed to the beach, we'll get it anyhow. But if they're dumping people there, and then they're getting in smaller cars to go, or so, I don't think that would be him, yeah.
Not dumping, they're buying.
Yeah, well, they're buying good, and yeah, that's nice, we like that. Buying's good. May have a whole new thing to buy there next summer, too, so.
And the Blue Willow opens this Friday.
That's right, yeah.
Yay.
So appreciate that, but I think we'll be covered by Mark, if he can write fast enough on 4th of July weekend. That's going to be, maybe we should get down there and help him out or something. I don't know if we can legally. Yeah, the thing with the seashore is because they own their own roads, they can shut them down to whatever they want.
Right.
And you have to get and that's one thing I think we should amend in the minutes. I noted I should change, if you guys don't mind opening it up again. There's a statement there, they do not allow buses. They do allow buses with a permit.
Right.
But they haven't permitted any buses.
Yeah, no, but I mean, just says there's a process they can get, well, no,
No, that-
arts dune buggies and stuff can do it, but
Yeah.
commercial people can apply for a license for buses or like
Right.
arts dune, but very few do.
Right. They're special. ones.
Okay.
All right.
Suzanne, anything else?
I'd like to go back to 4 on the front page of the agenda. Under A3, where it says expansion would primarily benefit Cahoon Hollow, I don't think that's, it's going to benefit the town, because if we expand, we're going to have more people parking, and we'll get the revenue. The people may go to Cahoon Hollow, but the town will get the revenue.
Where is
So
that?
I don't think that's
3
entirely accurate.
4A3.
Do you disagree, Dan,
I do disagree.
Okay, good.
with what I'm saying, or with that
What,
statement?
no, Whitecrest 2019, change access control to credit debit card only, collect data shuttles. Expansion of the lot would I don't think it would primarily benefit Coon Hollow. I think it would primarily benefit anyone who's coming to Wellfleet to go to the beach.
And the town gets the revenue for that.
Yes.
I mean, I think the
Yeah.
town benefits greatly from the revenue.
So we'll strike that clause.
Yeah, I would appreciate that, because I don't think it's not balanced. And
Yeah,
the-
before you leave that, when I look at that, I think of it in the context of two things. One, we have lost 250 spaces over the years. And two, there is the variable of erosion over which we have no control. It is ongoing, and it is not predictable. And perhaps, we should look at not being in a reactive position after there's a problem. We know what is coming, and we know what we've lost. So I think, in my mind, that's an argument to take a serious look at the White Crest lot.
Any idea what the payout would be on that, Suzanne?
This summer, when we have an accurate count of how many pay places we have versus how many stickers, we know the percentage, and I'll be able to give you a better idea.
Okay.
The simplest thing would be to create as many spaces as there already are, once again, so that we'd have apples and apples, but I can get it at the end of the summer more accurately. Under B, it says Mayo Beach, no changes, open parking, collect data. What kind of data, and who do you anticipate's collecting it?
That's worried me before, and I've almost thought of going down there and just do an eyeball survey as I make my way into town daily. Sometimes it's jammed down there, and sometimes it's not.
Low tide's a good time to park there,
Okay.
Low tide's the best?
because there's no water.
Oh, okay.
Well, and you got festivals going on across the street and all that, so I don't know. That's completely uncontrolled.
How
And
much,
intended to be that way, but
how much parking does the recreational department activities generate? I'm sure it's a lot on drop-off and pickup, but is there any full, long-term parkers?
Drop off and pick up are short term. They pull in for 10 minutes, either drop off or collect their child or children, and they're gone.
Right.
It's not a long-term parking thing. I don't think, the things that might impact that area is if there's a skateboard tournament, if there's a concert under the tent that's really, really popular.
West Fest.
Until we have, West Fest, until we have the Dropkick Murphys there, I don't think it'll be a problem.
Well, I've also seen wedding buses parked there.
Yep.
They've dropped the guests off, they park, and idle their buses. But it's hot, I get it, they're bus drivers. Yeah, so people do use it, but it hasn't become a problem. But that would be a lot to consider for possibly employees or something.
Right.
What, at Mayo, we're talking about? Well, Mayo is a public it's public anyway. I mean, it's under,
Well, use the mic.
You could tell the employees to please use, the employers to tell their employees to please use that lot, or something like after 5 o'clock at night or 4 when they come in,
right.
possibly.
I know somebody who works at the Dunkin' Donuts Plaza, and there are even party buses that park in there.
Right.
We
Right.
do have a huge problem
Yeah.
in Wellfleet. I would like to address, under D, it's South Wellfleet Center. In our little center, I don't see where we have a need for a pay for parking kiosk.
Could,
The Blue Willow does not. Oh,
and Tom is going to ask that you identify yourself.
Yes.
fix it, Tom. Okay, right now?
You should identify yourself.
It's like this close. Closer, won't bite.
Like Celine Dion?
Yes.
Yes.
There we go.
Identify yourself for the.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm Laura Kozak.
And you're with the chamber.
Yeah, I work for the chamber.
Okay.
Yeah. In our South Wellfleet area, it's very short-term businesses. The Blue Willow, nobody probably stays for more than an hour. Al's Seaside Liquor, quick. The post office, quick. The Beachcomber at the other end is a gift shop that doesn't attract an awful lot of people. And in our little area, sometimes PB overflow will park in there. To me, as far as I'm concerned, we have a much greater need to start paying for parking at the marina and other places. We have a lot of businesses, restaurants in particular, in the Central District that do not have any parking for their customers. Therefore, they have no parking lot to maintain. They have no plowing. Now, the bookstore, their parking lot is very small. They probably do maybe have to plow that on some occasions, but I'm assuming that Mayo Beach always gets plowed, that parking lot. The Pearl cannot sustain, its parking lot is too small. Surroundings has no parking lot. We have a theater there who uses all of the town parking. Winslow's has no parking lot. They're using all town facilities. And the Lighthouse, if it opens. I feel we would be much better off starting some kind of paying for parking at the pier. Because when you go to that district in Wellfleet, there's so much more to do. You've got art galleries, you've got more restaurants, you've got great gift shops. You could, go to the beach. I think putting something in South Wellfleet is not a very feasible or great idea. I think we have to concentrate more on the Central District, the downtown area, because we have a lot of places that do not have parking whatsoever. There's a lot of restaurants. We're blessed with that, even in South Wellfleet. Several years ago, VR's had to expand their place. All you have to do is drive by Russ and Marie's to see how they have expanded their place. Seashore, because they're open year-round, they had to expand their parking lot. The Well did. The Wicked Oyster had to buy property. I think we have to start more when we do this in the Central District. I think we will get a lot more money. One thing, a place I go to in Florida, there are great restaurants on the beach, and you have to go to Inglewood parking and pay. And in the last several years, what they did was you go into the beach, or what we could do at the harbor or anywhere, and the parking places are numbered. You have to get a parking place first, and then you go, and then you stand in line, and you put in your money. How many hours are you going to be there? And I just think would be much better served. The town, I just think it's a wise decision. The length of time people stay in that South Wellfleet area is not that long.
So you're thinking we need a municipal parking lot?
Well, I think we have to take what we have and charge, like the pier does in P-Town. We number it, and we have a kiosk you go up to and put in that, or we gate it and give people jobs. But I think it's an area in our town that really needs to be addressed, that has viable things going a lot of times.
Well, thank you. I
Thank
think
you.
that we sort of kind
think we
of drew
mostly
those
agree with
conclusions too. We're
everything
just
you
trying
said.
to figure out how to, we need more opinions in the end.
We've
I'll
discussed,
bring
Such as
friends next
yourself.
time.
no, we've discussed those options, and
Yes,
Okay.
I think what,
we haven't come to conclusions yet, though.
yeah,
Can-
what
can I
we're
ask you-
waiting for is the per survey responses.
Yeah,
To see what the slip holders and the people, the moorings, what their reaction is, whether they, and then we can determine, because we talked about putting up a gate like parallel to the restrooms or something, and that'd be only for the boat people, and the rest would be everybody else. But till we know what people need, it's hard to do that. And it would probably be kiosks. We won't do individual metering. It's just not enough. Yeah. And I think the reasoning behind the South Wellfleet mentioned was we've getting reports that a lot of people park there all day, and then, 5 cars meet and 1 car goes to the beach.
I haven't seen that much of it, but But that's not to say, but I do know the police go through there, that there is limited parking.
It's 2
And I
hours,
have
yeah.
to honestly say, they come in and they go out. They do not, I'm there enough. I mean, that's the hub of our universe in South Wellesley.
Right, well, they don't mark the cars there, they were marking them in Town Hall for a while, but.
Yes, yeah.
And the other issue we were thinking of is if that facility does open into some type of a marijuana facility, that may change the whole parking profile down there, so you would have to have some kind of metering to keep you moving along. If there's lines.
It's not a very big parking lot.
No, it
It's
isn't.
another
No,
issue, and
it
I-
isn't.
I'm told there'll be, when they redevelop it, there'll be another 10 or 20 spaces out back from the dirt areas.
It
for
is quite
employees.
large out back.
Yeah, for employees. And and they more than likely are going to be gaining back 6 or 8 spaces by removing all the shrubbery and that picnic area. They're not going to have a picnic area. And they supposedly, according, like it's the last meeting, they will not allow lines to form outside. All waiting will be done inside the facility, and if you can't get inside, you can't wait.
Several years ago, the parking was so bad there. Karen was our postmaster, and she had to get a sign to reserve it
Yeah,
for,
post office, yeah.
yeah,
Why was it?
just
why
for
was it
her, not for the customers.
Yeah.
Because when she went out for lunch, she couldn't get back in.
Oh, I see.
Why was it so bad? Like, why was it full 3-4 years ago and it's not that full anymore?
Well, who knows? Was the weather better that summer? I have to honestly tell you that it depends on the time, but we do have a lot of people that now it's harder with boulders and stuff. On LeCounts Hollow Road, we do have parking, people come in from PB. I mean, they do have their parking, but it's not enough when it's really
Right.
busy in the morning.
Yeah.
You also had the general store open then?
Yeah.
And people
Well,
were.
we did years
were-
ago, yeah.
were,
Yeah.
you know, when you could get sandwiches
that
and people
did-
were sitting
yeah.
outside and.
The Blue Willow is going to be doing sandwiches.
Yes, they are,
It's going to help us keep people in
Bill had a
South
question.
Wellesley.
Yeah, because I have no idea how the chamber works, or excuse my ignorance. So when you say that you're speaking for the chamber, and, because I was wondering how the merchants would feel about paid parking in town, and you've just said
I'm
to
not
us.
speaking for the chamber. I just said I work for the chamber.
Oh,
Okay.
that's critical, because I thought you were speaking for the chamber. I
No.
think the
Oh,
record.
that would have to be Moo.
Okay, I just.
No, I'm just bringing up things
Oh,
I
no, that's
see.
fine. No.
That's very good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great.
Do we want to discuss while we have Jen here, the adding one member? Or is that next agenda?
We can.
Yep.
Well, we can't, do you want me to put it on the next agenda?
Yes, I'm
Let-
suggesting
Let's
to-
explain it here.
Yeah. Bruce Ketcher has been very instrumental in helping us, and we're going to need his assistance going forward with the results and monitoring results, and maybe we'll have more surveys next year. And I approached him about perhaps becoming a member of the team if we could add one more person. So he has agreed to that. So we'd like to go to 9 people.
So do we just go to the board and ask that?
Do we want to invite the Chamber Board of Directors to a meeting?
Different issue, I think. Is it?
What?
To be on the board?
To be on the board versus invite the chamber to the,
No, this is just to add one member to our team, because we almost didn't have a quorum one meeting.
okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not going to let it be debated.
All right, okay.
Because it needs to be on an agenda.
All right, so the next agenda I'd like to put on, considering adding one member and having people, and have people like Bruce apply if they're interested.
Second that.
I'm just referring to previous item on the agenda about outreach. And the conversation about the chamber,
Okay.
prompted me to think about inviting the entire board.
We have invited the board in the past. They chose to invite us to come to their meeting.
Right.
And
Which
you
meant
and I
that we
did
really-
that along with others. And I think they know that they're welcomed here at any time, and Laura can reinforce that.
It's more fun meeting at a restaurant.
It is.
Well, given your comments about limited parking and the need for more parking for businesses, maybe the chamber can spread the word to their businesses individually. They're welcome to come in here as Denny did at the last After 5 meeting,
Are you talking about just the businesses in South Wellfleet?
No.
talking about businesses all over town,
Any one of the chamber members. yeah.
chamber members.
I think,
I bet if we start charging for parking, the chamber will come.
Absolutely.
Yes, I've always felt that way myself.
right,
Just to,
well, we could put that rumor out there and see if they come.
No, let's,
well, the other thing, we can maybe do it by topic, have all the restaurant people come one week, and, I don't know.
Well, maybe we should just,
That's
maybe we
that's what a survey is all about.
Yeah.
you know,
right,
as far
yeah,
as I'm
the
concerned.
survey's going to help out, I think, for a while.
All right.
Hearing no other business,
I will make a motion to
I was
adjourn.
gonna take
need-
Will's-
we
No, I
should
think
decide
we
on
need to
the
discuss
next
the
meeting
next
date.
meeting.
Oh, the next meeting, I'm sorry.
next meeting.
next meeting is, if we stay on schedule, it would be the 17th. And hardly a man is now alive.
And what would we have to debate?
Yeah, I would just wonder whether that really.
I will not be at that meeting.
Is that town meeting week, or is that the following week?
If we went,
Following week. It's the 22nd.
What's the form? The form is,
If I'll be happy to make that public announcement. It went by me too fast to get it in there in the beginning. This Monday, this Monday on the 10th, is going to be, excuse me, oh, pardon me, on Wednesday, the 10th, in lieu, we had scheduled a candidates night, and there is just one candidate, so he's going to speak at pre-town meeting. And we just took the opportunity to put in the Hilda question, the question about the land trust and what is it about, and just to give people information and talk about it and hash out whatever questions they have, so that maybe it can help town meeting, number one. And number two, people, there's good ideas out there about what's going on, and people then understand the whole history of it. And then on the following week, on the 17th, there is a pre-town meeting, and the Hilda Forum is going to be at the library. It will be taped, and it's at 7 o'clock. The pre-town meeting on April 17th will be here in this room at the COA Senior Center in Wellfleet, and that will also be at 7 o'clock, and we will be reviewing all of the items on the warrant. Not so much for debate, but just to have an understanding what the questions are being asked of people. What is the warrant asking us, and that sort of thing.
and you sure that's on the 17th?
I'm going to give it to you right now, I'm pretty sure. I just sent that out. I'm sorry, it's the 16th.
Tuesday?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I'm happy to skip a meeting. And we'll try to build an agenda for sticking with our schedules of the first and third Wednesday to be May 1st.
I can share with you that I'm optimistic that for May 1st meeting, one item on the agenda would be the results we have compiled from the MARINA survey. I think the bulk of them will be in.
Okay,
That'll be
by that
exciting.
time.
all right.
Yes, very
And
exciting.
do I have approval to
So you-
proceed with
I'll let
just
you help you.
getting on the agenda for a selectmen's meeting to add a member to the board yet, or not?
No, you don't.
Okay. Oh, yes, next meeting.
We
Right.
got to put it on an agenda
Correct.
before we can really talk about it, and we haven't taken a vote. so-
Right. Okay.
But there is one motion that can be made.
What's that? To
To
adjourn?
adjourn.
I move we adjourn.
And I second that.
May 1st is the next meeting, yep.
May 1st, good, thank you.
Thank you, Tom.